Okay, so we are going to move on to our third panel, which I am going to moderate, and we'll be talking about best practices and innovative ways to grow the adult population, 20s, 30, 40-year-olds in our dojos. And you can see the entire panel around, or this entire event around rejuvenating Aikido is looking at Aikido as not just like a kids program or something, but it's actually as a life cycle, a lifespan kind of a practice. And I think for some of us who started younger or at any point, but when we really look at Aikido in that way, and the questions about where do we lose people, where do we lose kids, or do we lose them here, do we lose them there, why, what can we do to make a path that's continuous for young people, and then that turns into more 20, 30, 40-year-olds in the dojo. So our first panelist is Lia Suzuki sensei, and she started training in 1982, lived in Japan for about 10 years, quite a long time. And she is a senior student of Takeda Shihan, national director of, and the founder of Kenkyukai International in the US. She had a dojo in Santa Barbara, and she has moved to LA, which she can talk about, which is like going to, looking at where you locate your dojo for varying reasons, demographic reasons. She'll talk about that. And, her mission really is to foster more inclusion, and she's doing, really been having a lot of success pre-pandemic and even now. You can see her average age of her students, 28.3. That's really exact, but younger people. So Lia sensei, welcome, and take it away. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. First of all, thanks so much for having me. And also to the organizers, thank you so much for all your hard work putting this together. So it's an honor to be invited, and I wanted to just share a couple of things that have helped me in my journey to creating the vision of a dojo that I want. So when I first came back from Japan, after about nearly 10 years there, I just was really hooked on the adrenaline and the endorphins. I just wanted to sweat. So anyway, I wanted to find like-minded people and wanted to know how to get them. So I've got some bullet points here, and I'll move quickly through a couple of them. I can come back to them or do them in the break room in more depth. But anyway, one of the first things that I did, I had no intention of learning about web design or anything like that when I was in Japan, but I needed to do that. I noticed that people were coming from the website, and I noticed some things about the website. First of all, I got rid of this photo that I thought was my best photo. Like, people are gonna wanna know about this instructor, that they're capable. Had this guy in midair upside down, and my posture was like pretty good. And when I would meet people, they'd be like, "Oh, I saw your poster, is that guy okay?" And nobody came to the dojo. They were just, it backfired. So that was one thing. Now, if you look at my websites, you'll see some people who represent the demographic that I'm looking to attract. That even means getting rid of me on certain pages. Also, the ability to sign up on their own. Actually, just this morning, a 35-year-old bought one of our intro packages. I've never met him in my life, but I'll be meeting him on Thursday. He reserved a class. He'll be there. So again, I never had any intention of learning all this technology, but it has served me well, especially with this demographic. Another thing, I had a student who moved to LA when he graduated from university in Santa Barbara. And one day, after like 3-4 years, he called me up and he said, "Hey, I'm really jonesing for the kind of training we used to do. What do I need to do to get you to come down to LA and throw me?" And I said, "Wow. Okay, I got some mats that need storage. I'm in transition right now, thinking about where to build another dojo to tap into some other demographics. Do me a favor. do a little bit of research in LA, please, and tell me where you think is a neighborhood that is young, artistic, vibrant. And I do think that Aikido naturally oftentimes attracts more artistic types of people, but also, again, I said young, vibrant, artistic. And he said, oh my gosh, I think that's my neighborhood. So anyway, I can go on about that some other time, but here I am in LA now. Another thing that I noticed, I feel that it's my job to send everybody home safely with no injury and with a drenched dogi, a drenched uniform. And that's a tricky combination, but you have to work at doing that. I see some other instructors in their videos going, yep, that's a tricky combination. But, you know, when I came back from Japan, I was in my mid-30s. And there were just, you know, some seminars that I just decided, oh, I don't think I'm going to go, because I knew I'd come back and not need to wash my dogi. That's just the frank explanation behind that. So anyway, I make sure that I send them home with a sweaty dogi at the end of the class. And also a really interesting thing that happened maybe 5 years ago. I was teaching, I had a bunch of like actors and writers, filmmakers sitting in front of me, all in their 20s and 30s. And I think, if memory serves, I was teaching Ikkyo, and I was teaching the ukemi for Ikkyo. And I bet that a lot of people on this call learned to take the ukemi still facing the person because of the martial explanation behind it, right? We don't want to turn our back on nage, and you know, it's all of that. Anyway, that's how I was taught, that when you take ukemi for Ikkyo, you try to keep your center facing your nage center, because of the martiality, the martial integrity of it. And anyway, I was going into why you want to do that, and you don't want to do it this way, that way, because then you'll be open and this and that, and they can hit you or whatever. And I looked at this line of people, thank God, and I noticed that their eyes were like glazed over. And then I said, also, it's almost like when you're having a conversation with somebody and then you go to check your messages on your phone. It disconnects you. And like everybody woke up when I said that. So I realized, oh my gosh, this is a whole different world. And they're doing this coming from a different place at this. So now I try my very hardest to not explain the martial integrity behind any movements. Everybody, there's a lot of people in this demographic who, well, in any demographic, there's a lot of anxiety that I hear about. Oh, Aikido has really helped put my mind at ease. I can sleep better at night, things like that. So this is where I try to go with it. If I'm going to talk at all, I try to talk as little as possible. And if I'm going to talk, I try not to get all into like, you know, you're open, so they go, my group isn't interested in it. And I'm going on and on and on.
Okay, thank you. I'm going, but yeah, you know, I got to speak with all of you, and you know, we go so on with so much, but I want to underscore a few things that you said, which is where you locate your dojo. If we want to change demographics, in you know, age-wise, gender-wise, racial composition, etc. You know, all these things, we have to look at where we locate our dojos. And some people are going to be looking at reopenings. So, you know, what are the neighborhoods? Where are you opening up? I really love some of your thoughts about questioning what's on the homepage and the stuff. You know, look at it all over again, brand new eyes. And you know, reserve a first class. Have a package that someone can just do. And people like to reserve online and in this demographic. So like I say, I mean, met them, already signed up. So lots of cool ideas. We'll get to talk with you more. Thank you, Lia Sensei. Great stuff. All right, we're going to move on to Steve Erickson Sensei, who I got to visit his dojo a number of years ago when I was in Calgary, Canada. He's the Dojo Cho and founder of Big Rock Aikikai in Calgary, very active in the Canadian Aikido Federation. And I was blown away. His kids program, Tuesdays, and he had two, this is pre-pandemic, but I mean, from 4 to 9 p.m., I think, twice a week, not even time for adult classes. He has so many kids, hundreds and hundreds. He was just telling me that he has lost more students in the pandemic than people have had even in their dojos in the first place, and still has 200 families in his dojo. So he's an amazing man. I was blown away. This dojo has so much to share with us about, how to engage kids, bring them from littler kids to teens and to into what did you tell me, Steve Sensei? You have 20-year-olds who have been with you for 15 years are now part of the group that provides direction for the dojo as a whole. That was a quote from our conversation. So welcome, Steve Sensei.
So that way nobody messes up my stuff. Someone else's, right?
Somebody needs to be on mute, and Steve Sensei, onegaishimasu. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Jamie Sensei. Thanks very much, everyone, for the opportunity to speak. I think, in my opinion, this challenge of finding more young adults for our aging Aikido population is probably the most important challenge that we're going to see for the next decade anyway. And I think that there are probably two main entry points into a dojo where we're going to see those young adults come in. It's either going to be off the street or from a kids program. The off the street entry point is still a challenge I'm trying to figure out. I haven't been able to attract more than a handful of young adults under the age of 30. But I've got a pretty good number that are sticking with my dojo, starting as young as 4, 5, and 6 years old. I think the most important part of that is something that's already been said several times by other speakers. If you want people to stick around, you really have to love what you're doing. You have to love Aikido, and you have to love the kids. And if you can marry those two things consistently, class after class, year after year, it's really a highly attractive quality. And it's attractive twofold. First, the kids just love to be around somebody who loves being around them. And parents love bringing their kids to a program where they know the instructor has really connected with them, really cares about them, and knows all about them. Pre-pandemic, I registered 330 students at my dojo, and more than 250 of those students were under the age of 18. And I know every kid's first name, every kid's last name. I know their parents by first name. It might be difficult to tell me, for me to say or to list all their ages and all their ranks, but the important part, I have it off the top of my head. I start every class by sitting in front of each student down the seiza line, asking them how they are, what's up. Sometimes it takes me 5, maybe even 10 minutes to get down the entire seiza line, but connecting with each student in every class is critically important. It's how I stay engaged with how each individual is progressing, not only in Aikido, but in their daily life. And it helps a lot to know who's feeling really good about Aikido that day, who's struggling with other stuff and maybe is carrying a lot of baggage into class. I think direct one-on-one connection is critically important.
Steve, can I ask you to talk about your Ferocious and Female initiative, what you're doing with sort of creating those teen groups,
Sure.
And also how you engage your teens and your students as teachers to bring in the parents?
Okay, I'll answer the first one. The second one, you'll have to clarify a little bit, but I got the first one.
Okay.
I noticed, so I've had a junior instructor program for a long time. And what I've noticed more and more is the most capable teachers are always my teenage girls. And I don't know what it is, but I'd say 4 out of 5 of the best teachers I've got are teenage girls. And now it's more like 9 out of 10. So it's gotten to the point now where my young people's program is so highly driven by these young ladies that we decided we have to help cultivate more and more of them. It's kind of an initiative that we all started, but they're the strong drivers of it. The Ferocious and Female initiative is an initiative where we recognize one of our dojo members who's a girl, and for all of her outstanding contributions. And we have a national focus where we pinpoint a lady who's a predominant Aikido figure in our community here in Canada. My senior girls did an interview with Yumi Nakamura Shihan from Toronto recently. The third face of that initiative is an international focus. So we're still kind of in the infancy stage of Ferocious and Female, but we have a pretty good line on a great international Aikido figure by the name of Jamie Zimron, who my girls are going to interview very soon, and I'm really looking forward to that. Jamie, Sensei, can you ask?
Yeah, could you
talk
about? I remember at your dojo you had, and so many dojos, right? You'll see they have the parents watching, but instead of just having all that energy and time go by with them sitting there watching, you would engage your teens to teach them, and get them on the mat, kind of pre-6Q.
Yeah, right. So we did that. I'll be honest with you, I've struggled a little bit with that because the kids' classes are like dynamic and fast-paced and interesting and fun. And it's really kind of hard to create that same kind of atmosphere in a parent's class. And predominantly, I'm the only adult on the mat. I've got, in a class of 30 kids, I'll have maybe 12 to 15 teenage junior instructors with me. It's one of those teenagers that always got stuck teaching the parent class. And when all your friends are teaching the kids and having fun, that parent class is a pile of work. And so it was always a struggle. And it got to the point where I had to take it and give it to an adult black belt teacher. And then it relieved a pile of stress on my poor teenage teachers, and they were much happier having done that.
Could you talk about a little bit more about how you've empowered, and the kids have empowered you with Zoom in the pandemic?
Oh, so
how they stepped up in the leadership.
I'm here in front of you today with the dojo because I had about 15 teenage instructors who taught upwards of 20 Zoom classes a week to keep my young people engaged. I got so sick of teaching Aikido over virtual medium that I wasn't going to do it. The second time my dojo got closed, I said, that's it. I don't want to do this anymore. I can't stand it. But my teenagers said, that's okay, we'll do it. And so for 7 months, my teenagers taught upwards of 20 classes a week, from white belt all the way through to junior black belt classes. Eventually I taught a special class for my teachers, but they did a lion's share of the work there. And of those, like, we had probably 60% of our student base stay connected virtually. Of that 60%, like almost all of them remained and are actively practicing now that the dojo is open again. So I have a lot to be thankful for from the work of those teenagers.
Great, thank you so much. So people have more chance to ask you some questions. I've just been so amazed to be at your dojo and to see what you're doing and in the community. So thank you so much to share with us. So just in the interest of time, I want to introduce Josh Gold Sensei. We're very happy to have him here. And of course, Josh, many of you know as the executive editor of Aikido Journal, who we all just go, thank you for picking up where Stan Fran Sensei left off, and for all that you've done to really carry forward. And Josh has a dojo in Southern California, Ikazuchi Dojo, which is a very innovative dojo he's had for about 20 years. And he has cross-trained, does cross-training and also Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, works in the corporate world, and he's really going to share with us some information on demographics, some charts, really interesting, very important demographic charts that we all need to see in the Aikido world, and then share with us about just a phenomenal program that he has launched called Budo Accelerator that we all want to know about and be inspired by and potentially be part of as it's kind of ramps up. So Josh Sensei, thank you so much for being here.
All right, thank you so much for having me. It's so great to see old friends here and see some new faces as well. So yes, we have a huge demographic challenge in Aikido. And in terms of stats, I'll just throw out a couple, but I'll put a link in chat to a Aikido Journal article where we published.
Did we make you a co-host, Josh?
I don't know if you did.
We have
You're a
now.
co-host if you want to share maybe one or two of those graphs, because I think we all kind of need to see them in terms of.
Sure, I can do that
Yeah.
quickly. Let's see here. I don't want to burn through too much time, but very quickly, let's see here. Share screen. And boom. Okay, so I don't know if everybody can see this, but from 2004 till present, overall interest levels in Aikido have dropped 90%. So that's 90%. This is generally not good. In terms of age demographics, in the United States, ages 13 to 25 comprise 1.9% of Aikido practitioners, and 81% are over the age of 40. So it's pretty clear that we're aging out here. Also, in terms of like diversity and inclusion, we're really behind in terms of gender balance. 16% of the US Aikido community is comprised of women. And then if we look at ethnicity as well, we're a little bit ahead in terms of Asian, but in terms of Hispanic or Latino folks or Black African Americans, those folks are significantly underrepresented in Aikido in the United States. So if you guys want more data, I'll put a link in chat. This is all aggregated from a survey we did. I think it's probably the largest survey that's ever been done in the Aikido world. And so we're happy to share that data with you guys. So given that, I think that there are lots of ways to address that. And I see a lot of you guys doing amazing things, like Steve Erickson sensei. He's got an amazing dojo, and I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of his students, and they're amazing. But what I can do is maybe spend just a couple minutes and chat with you about one initiative that I'm leading that I hope can make a big impact in this area. And that is Budo Accelerator. And one of my primary motivations for founding Budo Accelerator was specifically to address this demographic challenge, as well as wanting to do some social good for young people. So Budo Accelerator, essentially, it's an educational nonprofit, and it's designed specifically for scale and impact. So we want this to grow big, and we want to make sure that there's a clear, positive social impact that we're making with our programs. We work with high school students, many of whom are low income, and we also work with first-generation college students, those who were the first in their families to ever go to college. And one of the things that we found is that if you want to work in conjunction with school districts, for example, whether it's a public school district or a university, somebody needs to mute there.
Somebody needs to mute, yeah.
So if you want to be working with educational institutions, we found it's really helpful if you really define what your learning objective is, and then you're able to measure the outcomes. So what we do is we teach leadership. We connect young people with mentors and advisors. We build resilience, we combat loneliness, and address mental health. So how do we do this? Essentially, what we do is we design and operate programs that combine modern learning science and technology with traditional Budo. And we've had world-class experts in education, psychology, and Budo building and testing this curriculum. All of this stuff is designed specifically to integrate with traditional Aikido training, or more generally Budo training. Our curriculum only works when it integrates or plugs in with the kind of practice that people would do on the mat. And so the good thing is that we now know that this works. So we've tested this with 5 different cohorts, online and in person. I'll give you guys a couple stats. Of the students who have participated in these programs, 78% of them improved in collaboration, 92% improved in goal
What are you looking
orientation,
for?
86% with creativity and innovation. They increased in terms of ability to be good or great with time management, like 45% to 71%, so on and so forth. So we gather a bunch of these metrics. I'm really happy to see that the stuff that we're doing works. And I think one of the most important metrics that we've gathered is that 100% of the students who have been in our programs have rated it as very good or great. And this is from anonymous surveys as well. So we were only founded at the end of 2019, but we're moving fast and things are going well. We've tested pilots with partner dojos, including Steve Erickson's dojo. We've even had students participate in our online programs from Mallory Graham's dojo, Oliver Martinez, who I see here as well, and a few other folks. We've been able to establish a strategic partnership with the Irvine Public Schools Foundation, which we are located in the city of Irvine. And so we now are plugged into the entire public school system here. And I'm also excited to announce that we just are kicking off a program at University of California, Irvine as well. And that program will be targeted towards first-generation college students. It'll be co-taught by myself and the Dean of the Department of Undergraduate Education at UCI. So in other words, the guy who runs all of undergrad at the university, which is 30,000 students. So if we do well there are actually 14,000 first-generation students at UCI alone. So we will have room to scale there if this program works out well. So our goal is to work with about 100 students this year, kind of fine tune our programs, figure out how we develop partnerships with outside dojos, and how to build our infrastructure to scale. Within the next 12 to 18 months, we'd like to be able to reach 1,000 students. And a few years after that, we'd like to be working with about 10,000 students from around North America. Our goal over time is to partner with dojos just like yours, where what we would do is we would have basically like a social emotional learning curriculum, like a leadership development curriculum that would be delivered partially online and partially partner dojos would run that curriculum either before or after their programs for students. You would run it for your existing teen students or college students. And we would also drive new students into your dojo, and those who come from low income or disadvantaged backgrounds would have scholarships coming along with them. So it would bring revenue into your dojos as well. So we have big plans. We've made a lot of mistakes so far, but we're off to a good start. And when we go into the breakout rooms, I'm happy to share whatever info I can and hear whatever ideas or feedback people may have. Thank you.
Excellent. Wow, thank you so much. And thank you for the demographic information. We are going to go to breakouts. So once again, you'll have a chance to speak with Josh or Steve or Leah. They all have so many great ideas. And we also are planning to probably do a special program to find out more about Budo Accelerator with Josh. So that, that can take some more time. Leah also has programs coming up, and we'll be sure to announce all the resources and ways that you can find out more. But anyways, pick your breakout, and once again, go to the 3 dots or look where it says on your computer breakouts. You should have those 3 options. If you have any problem, just stick around and say your name and where you want to go, and tomorrow we'll help to put you into that room. But otherwise, go for it. All right, I think we're just about all back. I popped each of the rooms, and clearly these conversations in this panel and all of them could just go on and on. But unfortunately, we do have to stop, but we will have, fortunately, we have so much to continue to talk about, and many ways to continue to do that. To wrap up, we're just going to spend a couple minutes. We have a couple things to share with you. And then if you can stick around, it'd be great to hear a takeaway that each of you, or some of you, could speak to that. What's the takeaway? What have you gotten from today? what kind of ideas seem valuable. So before we get to that, I want to ask Laura Hackle Sensei, to share with us about Mighty Networks, a platform that we're using to help continue the conversations.
Yes, thank you, Jamie. So Mighty Networks is a platform. If you have not already joined it, I would love to encourage you to join our specific Mighty Network that we host for Aiki Extensions. If you haven't heard of it before, what this platform does for us is it makes a social network, something like a Facebook group, only without all that Facebook. It doesn't have ads. It doesn't have any other conversations going on outside of ours. In fact, I've been using this platform for quite some time, and so I'm a member of a number of networks. They don't intrude on one another. If I want to switch from my Aiki Extensions network conversation to the one I've made for my own dojo or other groups that I'm a part of, I have to go over to the side and change the channel. So what that does for us is it gives us a really nice online place where we're an international network all over the world. We can have ongoing conversations that don't get lost and buried in a feed of multiple topics. And we've put the link in the chat a few times. We'll follow up with you by email. I would very much love to invite all of you to join. We have a channel, a group made just for these roundtable discussions, and we've left in it the roundtable we did back in spring, which was all about the love and the passion that commits people to Aikido, and we'd like to start new conversations around this, getting youth, teens, young people, college students, and all the above of the younger demographic into our dojos. So we'd love to hear from you what topics you want to have in there, and we can put them in there and help you connect with our speakers and one another. If you'll hit the next slide, I'll mention what else Aikido Extensions is doing. If you've been a member of Aikido Extensions for a while, you may be aware, either way, we want to reinforce this idea that Aikido Extensions offers small seed grants for you, for your projects. Let's say you were inspired that you'd like to start a college Aikido class in your town. You may want to apply for a seed grant. One of the missions of Aiki Extensions is not necessarily to start you a dojo, but to extend these ideas and principles that we're learning in Aikido into new populations. And so certainly I think that could be appropriate, especially if you're going out and trying to find parts of the world that haven't been reached by Aikido, different communities, different populations. For example, I don't think Meredith's on the call right now, but I know that she started a group specifically for Muslim women. There's a lot of young women in that group, and I believe she was a seed grant applicant and recipient for that program. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to us. We're going to stay on and talk for a while. Anyone who hasn't quite had enough yet and you want to touch base with one another, ask more questions, I'm planning on sticking around. And feel free to pop into the chat your contact information as well as join that Mighty Network. Yes.
And you can see that Lia Sensei will be offering another class coming up on building your dojo membership. So thank you for that. And Mallory Graham Sensei, I don't know if you're still here. I think you may be. We've been talking about some coordination of our seed grants with a new initiative that Mallory's working with. If Mallory's here still, want to say something?
Yeah, I think there's a huge intersection between developing young people in Aikido and specifically looking at the diversity issue in Aikido. And I think the two things really need to go hand in hand. We can't do one without the other, especially when we're changing demographics in this country. And the fact that the value that young people have growing up in the conditions that they're in terms of racial equity, gender fluidity, all of these things that if we're trying to get more young people into Aikido and they're not seeing that represented in the dojos that they join or the instructors that they have, that maybe our efforts aren't being best used. So I am really wanting to kind of put a call out to have this conversation go to really including inclusion, diversity, equity, and access, because I think that's going to be a key. And I think it's really important that resources go towards that we don't just talk about it. So I will be having more information to share. I've been working with a small group about how to put some money behind people really trying to actually get their dojos to be more inclusive as a way to kind of bring up this new generation in Aikido. So more to come.
Thank you. That's such a hugely important point. And we're happy at Aiki Extensions to, partner up and to, as you say, put some money. And we don't have a lot of money, but we want to also build up that fund so we continue to have more grants to offer and to partner up with you. As you say, the intersection of diversity and inclusion and lowering the median age on the mat. I mean, it's just like this. And, so important to be looking at all those issues. I'm excited to partner up with you and to work together. Also with Aikido, Aiki Solstice seminars. I just want to put in a plug for that. We've all been working together. We'll be doing our Winter Solstice seminar, and we will have other forums that we can continue to address these issues. And Josh Sensei, I think that there's a lot of interest in Budo Accelerator. We'll do another program.
I was just going to say a quick shout out that Cesar
Sure what that was.
is on the call as well too, who's been really instrumental in this. And so if people are interested and want to ping him,
Yes.
really thoughtful leader in that movement.